through some 1170 degrees. Typhoon is built around the concept of relaxed static stability. In other words, it was designed to be intentionally unstable to the point that it cannot be controlled by a human alone. Advanced computer software is used to interpret the pilot's input on the stick and pedals and translate those inputs into control surface movements, all while remaining inside the aircraft's flight envelope. That software working very hard now during a low-speed, high-altitude
was Squadron Leader Nathan Shawyer with the Royal Air Force. The aeronautical creations of Wren and his eponymous company, Avro. And without question, one of his most outstanding creations was this, the 504, derived from the Avro 500 of 1912, which was used as a trainer by the Central Flying Schools soon after its establishment, and by the Royal Air Service. One of the refinements to its design was the adoption of the very distinctive comma-shaped rudder, which would be carried over into its successor, the 504. Anson passing high behind them, continuing the Avro story. of triplanes by a British designed and built aeroplane. His first triplane had a 9 horsepower jack engine, jack standing for J passenger. They took to the air in 1909. The road flying the field of the masters. He became the first British aircraft to fly, given other monoplane that had a French engine. This Road 4 is a replica of a design from 1910, which did away with ailerons, despite the fact they'd been effective on the previous design, in favour of a return to wing warping to afford lateral control. Such an outstanding aeroplane, it performed very well from the outset, making its first flight in September 1914. It was awarded quality by the Wren. It served famously as a bomber. It found perhaps its greatest niche as a trainer. They were even used as fighters, and the last were struck off RAF charge, used as glider tugs until 1944. It was repaired each time. The last of those repairs involved the fuselage being that aircraft had been routines. Once the filming was complete, came here to Shuttleworth, and it's been here ever since. We had Willie Hackett in the Avro 504K, and now back on the ground, Mark Sharp with the Row 4 triplane. Seeing the Anson allows us to bring in another famous name, apart from that of Elliot Vernon Rowe himself, in the Avro story. That's Roy Chapman. He joined Rowe's firm in 1911. He became the chief draftsman at his plant at Hamble in Hampshire in 1916. 2 years later, he became chief designer. In the Avro firm in 1928, whereupon Chapman moved back to Manchester. That was his base for the rest of his career with Avro, tragically cut short in 1947 when he lost his life in the crash of the Avro Tudor II airliner prototype. The Anson was one of the creations of the team under his leadership. The last Ansons were not retired until 1968 by the Southern Communications Squadron at RAF Bollingdon. This one's an interesting one. It was built as a post-war civil Anson, an Avro 19. But it's in the colours of the RAF Coningsby station flight of a Mark 19 Anson served with that unit. Used to be part of the BAE Systems Heritage Flight fleet, but along with their other two airworthy aircraft, the DH.60 we are going to see shortly hopefully, and the Blackburn being 2 weeks earlier, they passed into Shuttleworth ownership in early 2022, having been based here for many years already. It's a great part of the collection, a really charismatic aircraft, and beautifully displayed by Dodge Bailey. Just lovely. Now, we're getting into an aeroplane which might be taking place back in the airworthy roster for 2025 in the centenary year of the Avro Moth. This is the oldest Moth flying. It's the DH.60, the Cirrus Moth. But look out to the far right-hand end of the field. We're going back now 100 years, a little longer also in the case. And if conditions are right, we should, we hope, see the northern light develop under its fuselage. This is the English electric Wren, and these are two contrasting approaches to the mid-1920s light aeroplane, and it's up.
Yeah.
I walked into the space and I was like, right, you're going to see jetpacks, they're so cool. You're not going to like,
First Lund light aeroplane trials were held at Kent Aerodrome in October 1923. There was a £500 official award for the most economical British aircraft with a 750cc maximum engine. It excelled most in those trials. It shared the top prize with the Anik 1. We've already seen the Hamlet's first attempt at building a touring biplane, the DH.51, and it happened to be tremendously successful. It's a fairly ordinary airframe, it was an expensive fuel-guzzling engine. That resulting aircraft, while very useful as a learning exercise, had a few positive attributes, but there was nothing particularly wrong with the design other than the choice of engine. And so to have produced only half as much power as the Renault engine in the DH.51. The aircraft was also fitted with folding wings that allowed its owners to store in confined spaces, and it was a much more practical proposition. That was the DH.60. Oh, Wren's going for another hop down the runway. And it's very interesting to have these two in the air at the same time, because de Havilland had taken part in those 1953 limb trials as well, with the DH-53, known as the Hummingbird. That wasn't practical either. De Havilland really needed to find a sweet spot between the DH-51 and the DH-53 Hummingbird, and the DH-60 was it. One of the things that de Havilland was outstanding at in this period was publicity. There were lengthy flights by the early Moths, such as at the end of May 1925 when Sir Alan Potter flew the first prototype. This Moth went into private ownership in 1938. It was re-registered de Havilland in 1941. And it was with them and its successor companies, Hawker Siddeley, British Aerospace and BAE Systems, until 2021, when it passed into the Shuttleworth fleet. It's not just the oldest DH-60 flying in the world. This is, of course, by definition, therefore, the oldest de Havilland Moth flying in the world.
So the most original de Havilland Moth
Yes.
flying anywhere in the world.
Yeah, I think it might have taken that slightly.
This was the first aircraft type to be produced by the British and Colonial Aeroplane Company, later renamed the Bristol Aeroplane Company.
Subsequent aeronautical success all stemmed from our holiday. Sir George White, the well-known businessman in Bristol, was dealing with our Bristol Tramways and Carriage Company, all sorts of transport companies there and around there. He was following France in 1908 and went to fly into Holland, and that convinced him about using our intelligence. So that moved him to aeroplane company, to build aircraft and to operate flying schools. And even before testing was complete, White ordered the production run of 20 Boxkites.
I'll give you a week tomorrow.
Yeah, they got red launcher, not blue one.
Yeah.
We're going to go to the road. Let them cross. There you go, down.
He's a flyer. I think we could drive to service.
Seeing the flight.
In my bag.
For this aeroplane, we have to thank the man who commissioned its construction, a Mr. Cyril Foggy. He had received his Royal Aero Club Aviator Certificate in October 1912, having trained on Bleriot at the Eastbourne Aviation Company. With his single-seat monoplane of similar general configuration to the Mercury series. He flew late in 1912 with Harold Blackburn as test pilot and co-related to Robert, incidentally. It was then modified to improve its performance. But this was already an aircraft that showed for the time superb flying qualities. Made its public debut in March 1930 at the North House Park flying ground in Leeds with Harold Blackburn at controls. 3 days later, Cyril Foggy himself from the helm. understand how Blackburn flew with Lofthouse Park to Harrogate, an 18-mile flight, during which it is reported that the Typhoon attained an altitude of 4,000 feet. The next owner was one Montague Francis Williams, who later married Bobby's sister, who operated to greet him on arrival, the papers themselves were sought after souvenirs. Struck up the trail. But no such need on this occasion. The Blackburn Typhoon, closing our programme with Paul Stone at the controls. Just under 5 minutes now until we resume proceedings with the Eurofighter Typhoon, providing a really noisy start to our evening air display. So if there's anyone who needs ear protection, potentially, then please make sure they're suitably outfitted in readiness for the Typhoon running in at 7:30.
By the curve because we haven't got time. All the car alarms go off. And, yeah.
I thought the same dad, like, at the time. Yeah.